Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. As the tier lists are hitting the timeline going into the new Valorant season, NRG Victor has given his thoughts on exactly what the expectations are for his team going into the new year. They have built on paper a super team, brought in players from Sentinels, from NRG of course from last year, and then from Evil Geniuses, the world champions. Victor says that if they don't win an event, that is a massive failure for the team and they absolutely must finish top 3, top 4 every single event, or they have far fallen short of expectations. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into. Firstly, of course, the, in-game Valorant esports hub, I suppose, as it were. They've got this one here for Fnatic. Leo is smiling. Must be the best timeline. There's also this one for the Paper X guys as well. Some, pictures not yet arriving, but it's kind of cool stuff, right? The people are really supporting these guys going into the new year. There's also this that was noted here from Bodok as well on the replay system. So Riot Zulu said the following a year ago. Just because there's been lots of debate on this over the last few days as to when, if ever, a replay system is actually going to arrive. And as they mentioned at the time, one of the challenges we are trying to solve is the issue with storing replays. I believe the information that we have yesterday, or, as far as the latest update we have is like, they're still working on it. There's still a team assigned to make a replay system work, but we don't really have any update at all on when, if ever, it's going to arrive. So I think it's a bit of a fumble, really, because other developers have been able to deliver something, and even in Fortnite, right, didn't they manage to deliver a replay mode, which was maybe nothing special, but they did that within a relatively short time frame of the game launching. We're here several years down the line, and nothing has really changed. Now, yesterday, we saw Faria, as I mentioned yesterday, actually, on the Plat Chat episode. He was there for a little bit of time while they put Sentinels in F tier and in S tier, and we'll discuss their tier list here in a second. There was also talk, though, from him on a few different topics, and, it was good to hear his perspective. Sure, there were certain things that he probably couldn't say too much just because, he's a good talker, he's well-spoken, he knows what he can and cannot say within the context of Riot Games, he knows what information he can and, isn't able to talk about, and I think it was good in general that he spoke about what he could speak about, kind of gave some more insight as to why some of the decisions are being made. Now, look, could we get a straight answer on some things? Probably not. Could we get a straight answer on whether the off-season is going to be shorter, whether next year there are going to be more games? All these other factors that we'd like to change. But I think generally there was some talk from, I think even Ardis mentioned this. I'll just mention the tweet real quick before we discuss the other things. Maybe Leo should just do a podcast, make a video, let's just not do a tweet, right? Because the feeling is that Leo, whenever he does a tweet, the way that he phrases things, and also when you write something, you can never fully get across the context or the intentions of what you're writing. You can never fully transmit that as you can in a video setting. So there is an argument to say that next time Leo wants to do an update on something, just make a video, just sit down and explain it to a camera rather than typing it up in a tweet, because his tweets often go down as something rather less than what you might hope for, at least when he actually gave his thoughts kind of publicly on the show. I thought did a good job. So there was lots of positive reaction to this one. He did mention a couple of things though that are relevant for the VCT in the future on the team capsules, for example, that they'll be available year round, not in the shop rotation, which is absolutely a must, I would say, which is a good thing. All VCT team capsules will be a classic, player card, gun buddy and spray. This is also cool as well. Teams designed their own player cards. So I don't know what we're going to be seeing here for some of these players, but I think that's actually really rather exciting to see what some of these guys have cooked up when they are officially revealed. He did, of course, also give some thoughts on the Evil Geniuses situation and said, yeah, partnership is not ownership, so teams do not own their slot, therefore it is not theirs to commercialize, which is a quite succinct way of saying what we talked about in yesterday's video. They also, though, went on to do what is one of the most interesting tier lists that I think I've ever really seen. There was a big debate going on as well as to exactly how you execute this tier list. Do you put the teams in based on the names of the teams on the left-hand side, the names of the groups, the standings, the tiers, or do you put them in based on how good they actually are? Because, I refuse to believe that some of these teams here that are in the global groupies category are actually better than, the likes of MIBR or EG or rosters like this. So I think this is an absolute mess. I'd be very surprised if 25% of this actually turns out to be true. But I will just look at the top of it, I suppose, because, you know, it's obviously a massive mess across all the regions. It's so difficult to even come close to doing anything good on this one. But maybe if we just look at the Americas specifically, they've got NRG up here in the S tier alongside Lev Loud, and we've got Paper X Fnatic here as well. Then Sen in the A tier. Then no Americas teams in the B tier, and then you have to go to the C tier, D tier, F tier to find more. So kind of strange. Loud as well in the S tier is, I think, quite the take, and also Lev. I mean, I'm very fascinated to see what happens at the top of the Americas. I think it's kind of, I wouldn't say unanimous, but most people would agree that Sen, NRG, Loud, and Lev should probably be the top 4 teams. Most people would probably have Loud 4th, just because, you know, they've lost Aspas to Lev. But, you know, are Lev going to be dominant? Are they going to be world beaters? Like, we've seen a fair bit from them. On paper, their team is pretty good and pretty insane, to be fair. But maybe their team on paper isn't absolutely ridiculous. And they have done well at that international tournament they played in the off-season. But that was with a different roster. Now they've got Core into the team. Rumours of internal drama. Difficult to say. NRG, though, is still getting very highly rated. And we'll go on to discuss them in a second. But we have to mention this as well. I thought this was really sad yesterday. And super frustrating from an esports perspective. So Melanie, who is very well known as a great observer in the Valorant landscape, VCT EMEA, she was informed yesterday that she will not be observing for this year. So she was told, she was meant to fly out to do this, of course, for the kickoff and everything in 5 days' time, and was told yesterday that, you know, it's done. She's out of there, it's over. It's been a common feature around the esports landscape over the last some time, really, and it's continuing now going forward. And it's, you know, happened in other esports very recently that observers being let go because, you know, the publishers think, well, do we really need, you know, 2 observers? Can we not just have 1 or whatever? And that apparently is the decision that's been made here, right? As you know, this individual says, an observer in VCT EMEA, the full situation will probably be explained at some point, but essentially we were told only 1 of us would be observing. So, you know, like, he wants to keep working with Mel, but that's not how it is. So really frustrating, especially the timing of it, right? Like, if you are going to make this decision, at least give us a more notice than like 5 days worth. And like, because she's not probably an employee and she's like a freelancer, then they'll probably treat her a bit differently. But it's still really, really gutting and frustrating. I think that Riot could definitely have done a better job of this one from loads of different angles. And it's, yeah, difficult to defend. But we've also got to talk about, as we mentioned a second ago, NRG, what Victor has to say on the team. So Pedro Romero actually did a really interesting interview here with Victor and many other players as well. I'll leave the link to at least this video in the description box below if you guys want to check out the entire thing. But there's a few interesting replies actually here from Victor. Firstly, implying that the team has not been exactly all sunshine and rainbows. Basically, the first thing he says in the interview, that the number one thing they've been working on over the last month or so has been trying to get on the same page. He even talked later in the interview, actually, that they have so many voices that have opinions on what they should do, that getting everyone to agree to a decision is actually really hard. Like, Victor and Crashies, they're pretty vocal in terms of how they want to play the game. Ethan is your new IGL. He's the in-game leader. He's going to make the calls. Marved was IGLing Sentinels last year. And Demon One's not exactly a quiet guy, is he, right? So I think the belief is that internally there at NRG, everyone in certain rounds is trying to chip in and kind of give their thought process and say, no, we should do this, we should do this. And somebody's got to make a decision. Even mentioned that Ethan's IGLing style is, you know, somewhat different to FNS's in terms of how they like to play the round. Do they play a faster round? Do they play a slower round? Do they wait for the utility to be used and then they go in? And all these type of questions. So there's definitely some conflict in terms of play style at NRG. If they can figure that out, they've got unbelievable amounts of talent, and Victor is very clear on how much they should achieve this year.
As far as the state of the team, I think it's going well. It's just been a process getting everyone on the same page, especially because we're coming from 3 different teams now, NRG, Sen, and EG. So it's just been a process of getting everyone on the same page again. Mars obviously been with us, been with our core on optics. So, but he still like took a little bit of a break, and he played a season with Sen, and so everyone's just getting back together. Yeah, I think for us, anything that's not making every event is gonna be. Well, I'll start from Madrid, but making anything that's not making Madrid and doing well at Madrid and potentially winning it is probably gonna be a failure to us, or considered a failure by us. Just because this team was built to win. I think is the best way to put it. Like we went out, we after our stint at champions, we just went after like the team, or we acquired players from the team that just won the most recent champions. So I think anything less than a very very good performance by us this year is going to be a failure. And by that I mean like making every event top. I'll say top 3 or top 4 out of every event. Anything less than that would be very bad for us.
So Victor, of course, says that any non-qualification for any international event is a massive failure. They've got Madrid, they've got Shanghai, they've got champions. Madrid's going to be tough because only 2 teams qualify for that. And it's a very stacked region, and it's the start of the season, kind of a new meta as well, the Skynerve, all this stuff. It's going to be very interesting, especially if they're still working things out. Shanghai champions, I definitely expect them to qualify for. Madrid is, probably a bit touch and go as it stands. And I don't think there's anybody really that's guaranteed at all, apart from maybe Fnatic and EMEA, you could say, to qualify through to Masters Madrid. But definitely massively high expectations here for this NRG team. They've clearly built this roster to try and win, getting Marved in, of course, that part of the Opticore, getting Ethan and Demon 1 in successfully from Evil Geniuses. Like, those are moves that are implying that you need to win if you want to be successful. Those are definitely moves that are implying that you need to win, and I think that Victor's probably correct. If they don't win an event this year, NRG, it's got to be considered a failure of a year, given what they've put this roster together to do. There's 3 chances. They will, obviously need to win one of those if they want to consider it a successful year, and, any team of this caliber, if you weren't to win champions, in some sense, that's, a bit of a failure in and of itself. So I think Victor's probably correct, but just thought it was interesting that it's clearly not been, so easy for them so far. Do they have the talent to deliver? I think so. But I do think it's kind of difficult to actually predict what you're going to get from this NRG team as it presently stands. A couple of things to mention for you guys as well before we close up. Thought this is really cool here from Hunty to actually put together an entire Valorant kickoff international schedule. And thanks very much for including the GMT time zone here for those of us in the UK. So I'll leave this link down below. Okay, I appreciate that it's barely on screen here, but as you guys can just about tell, maybe if I zoom in a little bit, you guys are going to be able to see a little bit more of this actually. So yeah, here we go. Seeing all the games on the various days and the time zone. So yeah, I'll leave this link down below for you guys if you want to check it out and check out when your favorite team may or may not be playing. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.